Hello and welcome to today's broadcast. Thank you. I'm going to be talking about Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, a Trump appointee, and the purposeful degradation of United States postal services in order to help Trump rig the 2020 election that he nevertheless lost, and why, even though I believe Biden can't fire DeJoy directly, he can still fire the board of directors on the Postal Service board and thus create space for DeJoy to be deposed from his office. Hi, Jeff. Nice to see you. So another thing I'd like to point out is that it's a very astute observation from Marcy Wheeler, who has a Twitter account by the name of Empty Wheel. And what did she write yesterday? She wrote 3 hours ago that one reason Donald Trump did not tell his rioters to stop until they had succeeded in delaying the vote was to prove that he could wield that power. It's not just the power to primary people that Republicans fear. It's the power to get complete strangers to try to assassinate you. So how many Senate jurors for his upcoming impeachment trial in the Senate will be thinking of that, possibly on top of a primary challenge, rather than weighing the evidence that obviously shows Trump did something so far outside of the bounds of the Constitution as to merit conviction and disqualification? So to say, essentially, Trump has already tampered with jurors. You would never ask victims of a terror hostage-taking situation to also serve on the jury for those terrorists, especially not if the terrorists would remain free to incite more hostage-taking for the foreseeable future. But that is what is being asked of the Senate. So I thought that was a very potent observation to put when we consider what's about to happen in the trial. Really, that trial is now for the benefit of the American public to see evidence put forward in a convincing way that Trump knowingly and willfully incited an armed insurrection attempt to overthrow the seat of government in the United States, and that he did so in part to wield power to show how easily he can command his followers to try and murder whoever he suggests is an appropriate target. So Mike Pence used to be his trusty sidekick. How easily did his supporters reconcile themselves to the need to hang Mike Pence, which is what they were chanting that day at the Capitol? Mr. Vix makes the observation that DeJoy's head reminds you of a bowling ball. Interesting. Yes, so the Republican senators will feel at risk of being primaried by other candidates who are more pro-Trump, but they'll also feel at risk of being attacked in a deadly way by completely brainwashed cult followers who are white nationalist, potentially evangelical apocalyptic devotees who think that end times are near and that anything that threatens to disqualify Trump from holding office in the future or to deprive him of benefits such as Secret Service protection would be against their entire religion, their entire worldview, would be putting the rapture in danger, because you need Donald Trump for the rapture to happen and all the good QAnon believing Christians to go to heaven. Not that everybody who subscribes to QAnon is an evangelical Christian, but there's certainly a significant overlap, because people that are primed with the belief that American exceptionalism is so unchallengeable that Donald Trump should be supported in whatever he does because he was the cheerleader for the United States. He was the demigod who could do no wrong. He was the secret savior of mankind and children being attacked, etc. So I don't know if you heard this, but a senior GOP strategist who helped devise ads for Donald Trump was arrested yesterday on child pornography charges. And the records had him admitting that his favorite I won't even say I'm not going to say what his favorite type of child pornography was because it's too disturbing, but it contrasts also very sharply with the fact that he was involved heavily in pro-life movements. Okay, I better Google that so I can. Washington Post, senior GOP staffer, or strategist arrested, child pornography charges. All of the QAnon people, pornography charges. I don't like typing the word pornography into my search engine, but here we go. All right, his name is Ruben Verostigui. Okay, I'll show you the headline so you can see it for yourselves. It is pretty disturbing, but I won't read out the details too much. Okay, so former Senate GOP staffer arrested on federal child pornography charges, published on February the 7th. I didn't see anybody talking about it that much on Twitter. He admitted to receiving some of the files of child pornography on his cell phone. And if you scroll down the article further, blah, blah, he was active in Republican politics. A LinkedIn page says he also worked as a senior designer for the Republican National Committee in 2017 and 2018, designing social media ads for the Trump Make America Great Again Committee and Donald J. Trump for president. I'll just highlight that sentence I just read because I'm not making it up. A committee spokesperson didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. According to the LinkedIn page bearing the name Ruben Verostigui, the user was involved in several anti-abortion rights organizations before his work in government, including March for Life, Students for Life America, and Life Action. At the 2013 March for Life rally, Verostigui was introduced as the president of his college's Students for Life group, according to a C-SPAN video of the anti-abortion rights event. We are the generation that has been led to believe that the killing of innocent preborn children is okay, he told the crowd. How many of us are missing brothers, sisters, cousins, friends because of abortion? Which is just quite an interesting position, quite damning about the human psyche that it's so able to compartmentalize things, that man could be advocating for saving children from a terminated pregnancy, whereas in real life, his favorite type of pornography involved very, very young children. And I think it's worthwhile considering what some psychologists have suggested, that shame in and of itself can be neurologically stimulating in a pleasurable way for people. Some people are so judgmental of something, but at the same time will derive satisfaction from violating those taboos over and over again. Nope, Kamala didn't call Joe Biden any such thing. Dan, you're still clinging to your little things and still using that horrible profile picture. I'm going to recommend my moderators mute you. We are actually, a lot of people are talking about Hunter Biden because there's a robust debate happening at the moment. Hunter Biden has written a book about his journey through addiction and out the other side, which means some uber ethical people on the left of American politics are arguing now that Hunter Biden shouldn't have written a book or shouldn't have published a book, and that Joe Biden shouldn't have said that he's proud of his son for writing a book about his journey through addiction and his struggles. They're like, that's not okay because now Hunter Biden will profit from his association with the president. And everybody else just went, shut up. I mean, honestly, Hunter Biden's been absolutely persecuted by the right. They've fabricated stories about him, used hacked pictures of his personal life and released it to the internet, as well as photoshopping things. He's been absolutely virulently and remorselessly attacked. And he is an addict, so it was easy to take pictures of him using drugs and completely besmirch his name. across the internet, using half-truths to supplement with fabricated smears, and just really savage his reputation. So I'm just going to, if Hunter Biden can treat that as an upside, or having an upside of being at least extra exposure that will prime an audience for wanting to hear about how he got out of that, how he got out of addiction, and having photos that were then hackable showing him using drugs and engaging in extramarital sex. That's, if that helps Hunter Biden explain how he ended his entanglement with addiction, all the better. So I'm one of those people jumping on the bandwagon of telling those people on the left who have ethical concerns about anybody related to the president writing a book. Hunter Biden, unlike Ivanka Trump or Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, has not been appointed to public office by the president. He's not drawing a public funded salary. He's not whining and dining on taxpayer dollars or getting patents from China like Ivanka Trump did. So yes, I presume my moderators have already whacked the troll in terms of silencing him, because his First Amendment rights protect him from being silenced by the government or persecuted by the government for criticizing it. I am not the government, and I am under no obligation to entertain the voices or platform the voices of liars and propagandists. But I am going to go to bed, so I wanted this to be a brief appearance, everybody. Let's see if there's any concluding remarks that I want to make before I go to bed. Liz Cheney, look, the woman's a study in contrast. She managed to vote for impeachment in the House, whenever that was, last week, the week before. But then she also did not vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene to lose her committee appointments. So some good things, some bad things. But in relation to Trump's trial, she said, we really have to take a hard look at who we are and what we stand for, what we believe in. She again blasted the former president's actions leading up to January the 6th, and combined with the fact that he lost the presidency and Republicans lost the Senate, she added, somebody who has provoked an attack on the United States Capitol to prevent the counting of electoral votes, which resulted in 5 people dying, who refused to stand up immediately when he was asked to stop the violence. That is a person who does not have a role as the leader of our party going forward. We should not be embracing the former president. So it's not to say that her voice saying that is the final word on the matter, but it is very important for there to be cracks in their efforts to pretend to be unified in support of Donald Trump. A lot of them do still support Donald Trump out of fear of being primaried or out of fear of being assassinated by his more crazier, violently oriented supporters. Hello, Stargirl. Hello, Jeff. Hello everybody. So, I applaud it in isolation every time they do one singular good thing. Doesn't mean I have to classify them as now suddenly being a good person or a bad person. Do you know what? People are complicated. They're often dysfunctional, and sometimes they're courageous or altruistic for a moment. Sometimes we don't even know their motives, but we applaud their decisions and their actions because we welcome those consequences. I saw this incredibly complicated explanation today for why people engage in pile-ons. And if you're on social media, you'll be familiar with a Twitter pile-on where somebody does something worthy of criticism or perceived to be worthy of criticism, and everybody has something to say or will add a comment about how terrible that person is or how deserving of punishment, until you have some other voices that will pipe up and say, this is a pile-on, this is too much. And the example given was a woman by the name of Justine Sacco was her name. She made a racist remark about how she was going to go to South Africa and get AIDS, or hopefully wasn't going to get AIDS, just implying that it was almost going to be osmotically transferred to her. Anyway, she got on the plane and she didn't know that the internet had seen her remark and amplified it and condemned it, and that while she was on the plane, everybody was calling for her to lose her job and be a social pariah, etc. And yes, there was a lot of pile-on effect, but that was the crowd relishing their ability to act in a collective way and so enhance their own personal power. It is similar. It bears resemblance to the effect experienced by Trump cultists who relish their shared power to overturn expectations and elect a president who nobody thought, or who few people anticipated winning in 2016. That transgressive glee of, haha, you didn't think he would win, you thought he was too racist and sexist and was an admitted assailant of women. Ha ha ha, we defied your expectations and he's president anyway. The people who judge a woman who's made a racist remark are saying, wow, racists have got away with it for so long, but when we act collectively to condemn this woman, it creates pressure on corporations to not hire her, that she becomes a liability to any company because of that snowballing effect of a pylon, the inherently amplifying process of public attention. So, hello, Busy. I think I remember you. Are you the previously Bernie supporter who ended up voting for Joe Biden and ended up conceding that I was right? Was that you? Boston Tea Party says, good morning. Good morning, Boston Tea Party. That was you. Wow. Nice to see you again. Thank you for voting for Joe Biden and contributing to saving the United States from a fascist who had all of the techniques of propaganda at his disposal, who had a complicit news station in terms of Fox News at his disposal to keep selling his lies, who had a lot of complicit Republican senators and Republican Congress members to help him deceive the public that he had won an election. So I'm just really, really happy that not only did America manage to oust Trump at the ballot box, but American defenses managed to hold just in relation to defeating the attempted armed overthrow of the United States government. So that was a close call, and everybody's going to be hearing about it in the days to come, because the trial in the Senate will lay it out. And I imagine it will be, I don't know what the viewing statistics will be like, because some people might not want to see what happened. Some people might not want to visit that historic but horrific day and the footage of American government, the American seat of government, being attacked and overrun violently in that way. 5 people lost their lives. Officer Sicknick died. He was bludgeoned to death with a fire extinguisher by frenzied Trump supporters. Another officer had his eye gouged out. Officers have sustained brain damage, which has life-altering consequences, and others concussive injuries and just other injuries. And they received those at the hands of people who claimed to support Blue Lives, but don't really, because nothing can stand in their way when they want to try and overthrow the government in order to install their demigod Voldetrump in office for an indeterminate period of time. Because once you've overthrown an election results, you're not limited to 4 more years. You can stay in power however long you want if you're able to take charge of the military and hold Congress members hostage, etc. But it is also a valid point that Trump just also wanted to go along with a powerful demonstration of his power, because that intimidates other people to say, hey, look, if you resist Trump, if you oppose Trump, my supporters might come after you next. And they're prepared to kill. They are so enmeshed in that worldview of Trump as a savior, and that society is at terrible risk if Trump is not the president anymore. I saw a reference in Time magazine a few months ago to a woman saying that if Joe Biden became president, she was going to take her own children to her car and turn on the gas, turn on carbon monoxide and kill them all in order to prevent what she saw would be very negative consequences if Biden took office. And that is very obviously extremist cult thinking. And we'd like to believe that it's just so fringe, that attitude is only restricted to that one woman. But there's a lot of people out there who were tremendously afraid of America becoming a communist society, tyrannical society under Joe Biden. Happy times call for chocolate. Yes. Yes. No, I agree with you, Blue Flame. I also don't think the US is out of the woods yet. There's, first of all of those compounding crises that Trump left for Joe Biden because he refused to have a plan to roll out vaccines. He punished the United States for voting him out of office, really. And his supporters are so unwilling to work with reality that they're circulating myths amongst themselves that Joe Biden wasn't really inaugurated, that was shot somewhere indoors, and that really Trump is still in the White House, and that footage of Air Force One is being faked. I mean, there's more than one Air Force plane. That's something I learned today, actually. And that just whatever plane the president is traveling on is called Air Force One. So it's not a single plane with that title. So that's interesting news and reminds me of my other suggestion today, which is that David Rotkopf said he wished Americans would actually study comparative civics. So not just how civics work in the United States, but it might be less boring to learn about and more enriching if people learned comparative civics to say this is how our country passes laws and how our government is shaped versus how government functions in other countries. So if we took some points from other notable democracies and talked about that and how it works, it even talked about some tyrannical governments as well, that would be really great. Blue Flame said he was watching the Iran foreign minister. They're not stupid. What are you concerned about with Iran? At least I'm not concerned that Trump is going to launch a nuclear war anymore against whoever he chose to target. Oh, look, here we go. You can tell me perhaps how to pronounce this name. Oh, no, not that one. David Rothkopf. He's a contributing columnist to the Daily Beast and on the board of contributors for USA Today. So he's a popular writer. I think it was David once who wrote a thread about working with the executives from Enron. And I think he was working for public relations at that point and telling them, that's okay, you can just come out and deny these latest round of accusations. And the executive said to him, well, actually, we can't deny that. It's true, and I think it's all going to come out. And he just had this sinking realization that, they had done what they were accused of doing, and that Enron really had behaved really terribly, and that it wasn't going to be possible anymore to spin it. I'm still curious to know what you're referencing in relation to Iran. Blue Flame, I hope you're able to tell me. So David said, if there were a high school course in which students were taught about how other countries worked, including how they do many things better than we do in the US, we'd be better off. Comparative civics, global government, pushing US greatness as an idea leads to decline. So yes, US exceptionalism is sometimes used as a rallying cry to greatness, and it attracts migrants and it attracts investment and economic energy. But America is struggling because there are some people who are so devoted to the idea of an America that's beyond criticism and beyond self-examination. Like those parents in Utah who are now able to opt out of Black History Month in schools. Now that's Utah, which I believe is very high in white religious people as a percentage of their state's population. And in 1982, that was when the Church of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, had a revelation that Black Americans should be allowed to hold office in their church. And that was put out as a news release. The prophet it has been revealed unto him that that Black people are essentially just as human as white people. So I think Mormons are the religious group with the highest percentage of adherents to Voldetrump. And I mean Donald J. Trump, but I'm calling him Voldetrump today because I'm seeing how that goes. Does it feel too childish? I want to call him Voldemort or he who shall not be named, but at the same time, I also want to be clear who I'm referring to. So Voldetrump is a funny way of doing that, of suggesting I think he's just as murderously inclined as Voldemort, and that I am as loath to speak his name as people in the Harry Potter books were loath to speak Voldemort's name because of the death toll and the toll on their wizarding society. This is all going to be inaccessible to people who aren't familiar with the Harry Potter novels or films. I haven't seen any comments for a little bit. Molly likes to call Trump the rejected president. That's really good. Disgraced and defeated former president. I like that phrase as well. Anyway, I said I was going to go to sleep, and I should. I should go to sleep. Thank you for putting up with my intermittent broadcasts at irregular hours, but promise I'm working on it, and perhaps by the time I migrate entirely to HAPS, I will have a show at a regular hour that you can predict and write in your schedule and then reliably turn up for. And until then, I'm more like just a bonus show that you catch when you can. So yes, the camera works, but I don't entirely trust it. I haven't had time to update the camera drivers yet, but I will work on that tomorrow. And yes, I will go to sleep. Thank you so much, Stargal, for helping me give myself permission. 11 a.m. is okay for East Coast. Good stuff. And I'll probably do broadcasts in my morning, though, which would be 11-ish for you guys. We'll see. We'll see how it ends up. Thank you, Mark. Oh, nice to see you. Good night. Okay, Jeff. Oh no. Yes. If I broadcast at 9 o'clock in the morning from my time, let me check what time it would be for you. Eleven hours difference. So I'm too tired to work that out. Yes, pretty much completely the opposite. I am on the other side of the world. 8 p.m. Thank you, Alan. I'm just going to go to sleep. So I broadcast at 8 p.m. Hopefully that wouldn't be too late for folks and wouldn't conflict with too many other important things that people needed to view on television. I don't ever want to be competing with better produced shows like Rachel Maddow or The Last Word, but I'll just do my best to find a regular time slot and hope that people can be available. Yes, an 11-hour time difference, exactly. All right, have a wonderful day, everybody. What's today? All right, so it's the 8th of February already for me, but it'll be the 8th of February in a while for you, which will be the first day of Trump's Senate trial. It's anticipated that the Republican senators won't vote to convict Trump. That's the noises that are being made, but it's not an entirely foregone conclusion, just a very likely conclusion. And in any case, that's not the be-all and end-all, in that even after Trump is acquitted, America will see that it's not really a valid argument that Trump shouldn't be convicted because he's left office. It's not a constitutionally valid argument. There's precedent. William Belknap was convicted in the Senate and after he had left office. So, or at least tried in the Senate after he had left office. Subtract 1 hour. Okay. Jeff will tell Rachel to change. Hilarious. All right, everybody. Hope to talk to you again soon, and take care. Bye. Oh, and thank you to everybody. Alan, Jeff, Stargal, Molly. Who else do we have today? Mark. Blue Flame never expanded on what he meant about Iran. Busy 66 said, always good to see you, even though I was very rude about Bernie Sanders. And Mr. Vix. Bye-bye, Mr. Vix, as well. Cheers, everyone.